My dad threw my 7-year-old son into a freezing lake to make him a man. A few minutes later, my son was gasping and shivering on the bank. My dad said it was just a lesson, but my nephew whispered, "I tried to stop Grandpa." 20 minutes later, we were in the emergency room, and everything I thought I knew about my father fell apart. We'd gone up to my parents' lake house for a long weekend in early November. My wife couldn't come because of work, so it was just me, my son Oliver, and my parents. My brother and his kid were there too. The water was cold. Not summer cold, November cold. The kind of cold where you can see your breath at noon and the lake looks gray instead of blue. Nobody was swimming. Oliver was throwing rocks off the dock with my nephew Wyatt, who's 9. They were laughing and skipping stones. Normal kid stuff. I was inside helping my mom with lunch when I heard Wyatt screaming from the dock. Not playing screaming, real screaming. I ran outside and saw Oliver in the water about 10 feet from the dock, flailing, choking, trying to keep his head up. He couldn't touch the bottom. My dad was standing on the dock with his arms crossed, watching. I sprinted down the hill and jumped in. The cold hit me like a wall. I grabbed Oliver and pulled him to the bank. He was shaking so hard his teeth were clicking. His lips were turning blue. His fingers were white. I wrapped him in my jacket and held him against me. "What happened?" I yelled at my dad. He didn't even flinch. I tossed him in. "He needs to learn to swim. You baby that kid too much. A little cold water never hurt anyone." I couldn't speak for a second. I just held my son, who was crying into my chest, barely able to breathe. Then Wyatt came running down from the dock. His face was red and he was crying too. He grabbed my arm and said, "I tried to stop Grandpa. I told him the water was too cold. He said Oliver needed to toughen up and he just picked him up and threw him off the edge." I looked at my dad. He shrugged. "When I was his age, my old man threw me in the river and I figured it out. The boy's fine. Stop making it into something." Oliver wasn't fine. His breathing was shallow and fast. His skin was ice cold even after I wrapped him in a blanket from the house. He couldn't stop shaking. My mom came outside and gasped when she saw him. "What happened?" "Dad threw him in the lake." She looked at my dad. He waved her off. "It was nothing. The kid's being dramatic." I picked Oliver up and carried him to the car. My mom followed me. "Where are you going?" "Hospital. He just got a little cold. He doesn't need a hospital. His lips are blue, Mom. He can't stop shaking. He was underwater in November and he's 7 years old." I put him in the back seat and drove. The nearest emergency room was about 20 minutes away. I called my wife on the way and told her what happened. She didn't yell. Her voice just went flat and she said, "If anything happens to him, your father will never see any of us again." I said, "He's already never seeing us again." At the hospital, they diagnosed Oliver with mild hypothermia. His core temperature had dropped almost 4 degrees. They warmed him up slowly with heated blankets and warm fluids. The nurse asked how it happened. I told her. She looked at me for a long time and then left the room. A few minutes later, a social worker came in. She asked me the same questions. I answered all of them honestly. I told her my father threw my son into a freezing lake on purpose because he thought it would toughen him up. She wrote everything down. She told me they were required to file a report. I told her I understood. My dad called while we were still at the hospital. I picked up. "You took that boy to the hospital over a little swim? His temperature dropped 4 degrees. They diagnosed him with hypothermia. That's ridiculous. Kids are tough. He would have been fine." "The hospital filed a report, Dad." He went quiet for about 5 seconds. "What kind of report?" "The kind that happens when an adult throws a 7-year-old into freezing water." "You're going to let them make me out to be some kind of monster over this?" "I didn't make you anything. You picked up my son and threw him into a lake in November. That's what happened." That's what I told them. He started yelling. I hung up. My brother called an hour later. He was calm, but shaken. He said Wyatt was upset and hadn't stopped crying since we left. He said he told our dad that what he did was wrong, and Dad told him to mind his own business. "I should have been watching," my brother said. "Wyatt was right there when it happened. Wyatt tried to stop him. A 9-year-old had better judgment than a grown man." My brother